because we are not of this world. If we're believers, we're from a different world, of a different world, and supposed to live like it and act like it and think like it. And I sure am glad. Thank you for singing, Lord. Thank you for playing. And thank you for being here. Turn to Mark 6. Mark 6. I dealt with one part of this message on Wednesday, and I want to try to finish it. We're walking our way through the book of Mark. I have enjoyed the study. Don't know if you have or not, but it sure has enriched my heart. And we're dealing now with who was this man. The last 3 verses of the book of Mark, or the 6th chapter of the book of Mark at least, deal with what's been happening before. He is traveling through the land. He's healing people. People are flocking to him. But it just seems like there's some type of emphasis on these verses, and I want to look at those in particular. Let's begin reading into verse 53. And when they had passed over, they came into the land of Gennesaret and drew to the shore. And when they were come out of the ship, straightway they knew him, and ran through that whole region round about, and began to carry about in beds those that were sick, where they heard he was. And whithersoever he entered into villages or cities or country, they laid the sick in the streets, and besought him that he might touch it, or if it were but the border of his garment, and as many as touched him were made whole. So my heart to try to emphasize those words in 54, where straightway they knew him. That talks about recognizing him. Oh, yeah, there's George, or there's Susie. I recognize them. I saw Ann's daughter this afternoon at the funeral home. Hadn't seen her in a long time, but when I saw her, I recognized her. And that is what this is talking about. They recognized him. He had been in this region before, and some had seen him before. But I realized, and I thought about this, they may have known him, but they didn't really know him. And that's where the thought came. Who was this man? Who was he really? Verse 54 says, and when they were come out of the ship, he was there. He was present. Jesus was in the midst. I mentioned this Wednesday. At this time, of course, for someone to get help from the Lord, they had to go where the Lord was. They could not send an email or a text or a letter. It was not a long-distance situation, even though there were a couple that he would heal not being present. He would say, they are healed, go back, your servant will be fine, and those type of things. The most common, by a vast majority, was one-on-one with Jesus. In other words, if you had a problem, you had to go where he was. If you needed healing, you had to go where he was. Here's what you had to do. You had to seek him down. You had to look for him. You had to find out where he was and go there. And I dealt Wednesday in seeking the Lord. Seeking him with all of our heart. Those who heard about him coming. Those who realized, hey, he's present. He's going to be coming my way tomorrow. He's coming through our city. They had to decide, will I let him go by and stay in the condition I'm in? Or will I go and find him? Will I seek him out? And I suggested then that was not an easy task. For there were multitudes following him. There were multitudes who also needed the same help that you did. And for you to get to him really was a mini miracle. because you had to press through the crowd or get there very early. You had to go to the right place at the right time when he was coming by to get to him, to touch him and get help. Many did. Many went to him, got the help they needed, went back home, delivered, different completely. We'll see that in a minute. But many went back home in the same condition because in spite of the fact that they sought him, they did not seek him hard enough, with enough fervency to push through the crowd, and they did not make it to him. He walked by outside of their reach, and they did not get help. Jesus was present. I mentioned Wednesday, I'll say it again, I'll go on. There is a difference between him being present. He's everywhere. He's omnipresent. He is everywhere at all times. There's nowhere he is not. But there's a vast difference between him just being here and him being here. There's a difference between him being present and him being present. I mean by that, him moving, his presence manifested. We all know there's some services we come in, to be honest, it is pray, sing, preach, go home. And that's pretty much it. But we also know there are some services when we come in and something's different. There's someone here just besides us humans, and that is his manifested presence. And that is what we so desperately need. Number one, Jesus was present. Number two, who is this man? Who was Jesus? He is someone who is present. He's there to help you when you need him. And number two, not only Jesus was present, but Jesus was popular. I get that again from verse 54 where it says, straightway they knew him. He had traveled enough now. It had been broadcast all across the country about this man named Jesus. And these people knew him. They recognized him. He had become a popular person. But again, that does not mean they really knew him. They just knew, here's the way I could say it, they knew of him, but they did not really know him. You know what I'm saying? I know of Donald Trump, but I don't know him. I know of a lot of people that I do not know personally. Jesus was well known, but he wasn't known well. There was a whole lot of people, and here's my point. They knew him. I'm talking about, who is he? Who is he to you? What does God mean to you? Who is God to you? There was a whole lot of people, when they heard about Jesus, here's what they thought. Oh boy, I can get some help. Here's the one that can heal me. Here's the one who can help me. And that is all they thought about. That's all they cared to think about. That's how they knew him, as a helper and a healer. But that's all they knew and all they were interested in, because all they wanted was what they could get from him. That's not knowing him. Knowing him means you realize he's yours. You love him. You enjoy his presence. You want to get to know him more and to get to know him better. He was popular. But again, they did not know him. By the way, the crowds and the multitudes that's flocking to him, who have never spoken to him one time, never touched him one time. This is the first time they've really seen him this close in person. They aren't the only ones who did not really know him well enough. Even his disciples, Jesus said to Thomas, have I been so long this time with you, and yet thou hast not known me? You still don't know who I am? You don't recognize who you're with. Oh, we need to know him. He was popular as a healer, but that's pretty much where it started and where it began. Philip and the other disciples. Jesus spoke often about being close, of knowing, of communication, of closeness. But before I criticize them too much, which I already have, I need to look at me and I need to look at you. You look at you, okay? I'll look at me. Because we also need to know him better. We also need to know him in a more intimate way. Not just someone who we go to when we have problems. How often do we use God as a spare tire? We just as well admit it. And when we need him or we have a problem, we go and beg him for help, and that's fine. He tells us to do that. But then we must admit when things are running smooth, we are prone to ignore him, forget him, and put him back in the trunk of our lives. We do not know him except for the giver of help and the one we cry out to. He's popular, there's no doubt, but they don't really know him. And that's why even the great apostle Paul, he said, that I may know him. After he's been saved for years, he is saying, oh, I want to know him better. That's what I'm saying. Who is this man? Do we know him? Or are we just acquainted with him? Oh, what a difference it makes when we know him. James said, draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. The psalmist said, it is good for me to draw nigh to God. I'm talking about knowing him well. We draw nigh to the Lord. We know him better. We learn more about him just like we do our friends. We have friends that we first became acquainted with. And now over time we have become good friends. Some we have become best friends. And we certainly know them better now than when we first met them. Well, how did that happen? Well, it first took communication. We talked with them. We talked to them, they talked to us. We listened, they listened. We talked, they talked. That's called communication. And that's how we know more about the Lord, communicating with them. Letting him talk to us through his word, us talking to him by prayer, that communication, we get to know him better. He becomes more than just a popular figure in our life. He becomes the main figure of our life. How do we become from I just met you to you're my best friend? By communication, also by commitment. Because you don't go from I just met them, never had seen them before, didn't even know who they were, to best friend instantly. It takes time and it takes effort, it takes commitment. And that's exactly what it takes for us to know the Lord like I'm talking about tonight. It takes a commitment, it takes time. I hope we who have been saved a long time know him better now than we did last year, the year before, or when we first got saved for sure. I'm talking about knowing him. Who is he? Do we know who he is? We become best friends or better friends by communicating, by commitment. But I thought about this. By complications or conflict. I thought about this. That person who you just met, who now has become over time and over communication, has become your best friend. That is someone you can share anything with. They can tell you anything, you can tell them anything, and you have complete confidence that they'll keep it to themselves, and they will care and be understanding, they will try to help. And that did not come easily. And it's amazing that the best way to measure a friendship is when problems come. And when your best friend knows that you're going through problems and they really do care. You talk about it. You share. You open up. You may weep in their presence. You tell them what you probably wouldn't tell hardly anybody else or nobody else, and they care. There's a connection because of those complications, and that makes your friendship even more real. You get even closer because of problems. That's exactly how it is with Jesus. Isn't that what Paul said? That I may know him and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his sufferings. That I may know him better. And part of knowing him better is going through the same kind of problems he went through. Talking about Jesus is popular. Look in verse 55. And ran through the whole region round about and began to carry about in beds those that were sick where they heard he was. Everything went chaotic. Jesus is coming. Jesus is on the way. And they look like a bunch of ants. I walked by that hill out there that we got to take care of sometime one day this week, and I just couldn't help it. I just had to do it. I kicked the top of it off just to watch them scurry. Oh, and when Jesus was coming, when noise got abroad, they heard everywhere, he's coming, he's coming. They scurried like ants trying to find out where he was. In verse 55, the first part says, and ran through the whole region round about. Somebody said Jesus is coming. And it spread like wildfire. Multitudes came. Most of them with selfish motives. Most of them wanting something good from him. Wanting healing or help from him. They knew of him, but they don't really know him. He's a popular person. He's someone that everybody wants to know just enough to where they can get help from him and then him go on and leave them alone. But I say this, it would be better to go to him to ask him for the help you need, even if it's selfish, than not to go. Because at least you do get help. At least he does heal and help. He handles the problem. So they go to him seeking help. And I say that's a good thing. Now, one thing for sure, then and now there were no shortage of problems. Multitudes came. There were so many they could not all get to him. There was no shortage of problems. Plenty of people needed help. Plenty of people were in bad shape. There was a hurting world they were living in. And guess what? So are we. The older I get, the longer I live, the more I am aware of the hurt in this world. The more I'm aware of the people who have problems that they can't handle. Of those who hears the word, here's the answer, here's my conclusion, the people who need help from God. That's what we're finding here. They needed help and they admitted it. That's one good thing. They at least admitted the fact, hey, I need help. Had they not realized, they wouldn't have never left the house. They would never have cracked through all that crowd, pushed through that crowd, if they did not know they needed help. Or they did not want help. So they knew they needed it and wanted it, and that's why they went. He's popular. People are coming. I'll say it again, I'll move on. Our world is hurting. Our world needs the Lord. I have learned again that a president is not the answer. A new law is not the answer. A new sheriff is not the answer. A new day is not the answer. We need God. That's the answer. Look at the last part of verse 55. And began to carry about in beds those that were sick. Not only did the sick come, but the healthy came bringing the sick. There were some that couldn't even get to him. They were brought in beds, that's the pallets, like the cot kind of thing, like they used to get the man through the roof. Pretty much just a cot you can roll up. And they brought the sick and the infirm, those that could not even get to him. Somebody cared enough to get them to him. They're coming. They brought friends and family members, because those friends and family members couldn't get there themselves. And we ought to do the same. We know people who are lost. We know people who are hurting. We know people who are going through problems, and we should go to the Lord on their behalf and do whatever we can to help them ourselves. Look in verse 56. And whithersoever he entered into villages or cities or country, they laid the sick in the streets and besought him that they might touch, if it were but the border of his garment. As many as touched him were made whole. They went anticipating getting help. They knew he had heard what he had done before, and they went thinking, if he can do it for them, he can do it for me. And they went, those that made it through. Notice in the villages and cities and country, it didn't matter how big, how small. He didn't reserve himself to the big cities, the big arenas, the big convention centers. He went to the little hamlets, the places where the people were forgotten for the most part. He was not looking for the crowd. He was looking for those that were hurting, and he found them everywhere. I'm so thankful for the care of God. Look in verse 56 again. And whithersoever he entered into villages or cities or country, they laid the sick in the streets. I've tried to picture this. There have been times that I've seen parades and the streets were lined. There's been times I've seen protests and the streets were lined. There's been times when the president was coming and they lined the streets. But these people aren't there just to see the president ride by and wave. These are there because they're sick and they're infirmed. Some have leprosy. Some are blind, and it's sad just the fact of them trying to stumble there, even with help. The streets are lined. Many people, multitudes of people. Oh, listen, but notice, whithersoever he went. What wonderful words. He did not go to the palaces. He did not go to the big places. He went where they were. Now, let me move on. Jesus was present. He's available. He's close. You got to seek him, though. Jesus not only was present, Jesus was popular. Number 3, Jesus was personal. Look in verse 56 again. That they might touch, if it were but the border of his garment. I thought about that. We have been talking about multitudes of people flocking from every side as he goes down the street. He has not even room hardly to breathe. But then it boils down. The camera goes from the top view of seeing the vast multitude and goes down right above Jesus, and there's one person reaching out and touching him. And that one person is the one that gets help at that moment. In other words, Jesus is a personal God. It is a one-on-one situation. Multitudes around, multitudes trying to touch him, multitudes needing help, multitudes crying out. But at that particular point, there's one individual that gets help. It's his attention on one person, his power on one person, meeting one need, one person at a time. He saw the multitude, but he saw the individual. He's a personal God. I am so glad that I can read the verses where it says, "For God so loved the world." But I can rephrase that word and not do damage to Scripture. God so loved Rick. I'm glad he loved you, I am, but I'm really glad he loves me. I'm glad he died for the world, but I'm glad he died for me. He's a personal God. He's a one-on-one God. Multitudes, he's a shepherd who sees a flock, not as a flock. as individual sheep with individual needs, individual fears, individual problems. That's the God that He is. Who is this man? He's the God who knows you. He's the God who loves you. He's the God that wants to help you. He's the God that wants you to come to Him. Oh, listen, a one-on-one experience. Right now, there's 8.2 billion people in this world, and God loves everyone, concerned about everyone, would help everyone. Oh, but there's one at 164 Dine Avenue that I'm really glad He knows about. That's me. By the way, I'm glad He knows about you too. That is my point. He's a personal God. Who is this man? He's personal, one-on-one. He loves you. Look in verse 56 again. As many as touched Him were made whole. Jesus not only is present and popular and personal, He's powerful. As many, not a good number, really, God help. Now, a whole lot of people touched Him, and some of them were disappointed they had to go back home still sick. Ain't what it said. It does not even say most of them got help that touched Him. It does not even say the vast majority of them who touched Him got help. It says they all got help. Those who touched Him, as many as touched Him, were made whole. How? By His power. Who is this man? He's a man of power. He has power to help you in your needs, your problems, what you're going through. He has power to calm your storm or help you be calm in the storm. He has power to take care of the problem or help you get through the problem. He is a God who has power. His power is available. He entered into villages or cities or country. He's coming by. His power is available. Seek after Him. He made His power available. No place too big, no place too small, no problem too big, no power too, good gracious, no power too, well, good gracious, no problem too small, no person too far. He is a powerful God, and His power is available. You don't live on the wrong tracks as far as Jesus is concerned. Some would say, I'm not going there. Politicians would say, no way, Jose, I ain't going that part of the city. But Jesus will. He is so loving, He'll come where you're at. His power is available. Not only does His power deal with availability, His power deals with ability. As many, everybody who touched Him, there were no limits. All were made whole. As many means His power is sufficient no matter what the problem, no matter what the affliction, no matter what the sickness. Sometimes the doctor will say, we've done all we can. You've heard them just like me. They sent them home to die because there's nothing else that can be done. Surgery won't work. Medicine won't work. There's nothing that we can do. We do not have the ability. We do not have the power. Jesus never says that. He has the power. He has the ability. His power deals with ability. Oh, His power not only deals with availability and ability. His power deals with accepting. Notice how the verse is written. That they might touch if it were the border of His garment. But notice what it says. Whithersoever He entered into the village or cities or country, they laid the sick in the street, that they might touch. They had to reach out. That reaching out was them saying, I need you. I accept your help. I receive your help. And that's how it is with us. We need to receive from Him. We need to accept by faith the help that He's offered us. Who is He? He's a God of power. But we need to recognize His power and accept it by faith. It's very unlikely He's going to dump it on our door and right on down the road without us asking, believing, expecting, receiving. It's a power we accept. Somebody reached out and touched His garment, receiving that power, and it worked, it helped. What a blessing it is to have a God like that, one that can do what we cannot do. Oh my, His power deals with accepting. As many as touched Him were made whole. It tells me this and I'll be done. As many as touched Him were made whole. I mentioned this before, I've got to say it again. That means they accepted the fact, they acknowledged the fact that they needed help. Person that says, I'm all right. Nothing wrong with me. Now, I know some people who really need Jesus. Boy, I know some people that really have problems. I'm telling you, I know some people who really don't live right. I know some people who really, I'm telling you, they need help, but I'm okay. That kind of person didn't seek the Lord, surely didn't get help. Those who went after Him and sought Him, and especially those that touched Him, and those who got help, were those that had said, I need help and only my God can do it. They acknowledged their need. They had to admit it. Secondly, I believe they came by faith. They had heard about Jesus. They had heard about what He did. That was proof that He could. And I believe they went expecting. They went believing if He can help them, He can help me. And He has power to help Uncle Bill and Aunt Susie. He has power to help me. I believe they went in faith, believing and expecting and even hoping that Jesus would touch them. They did not go with self-help on mind. They did not say, me and Jesus are going to work this out. This world is full of self-help. This world is full of remedies of how to make things better. And guess what? They don't work. But His power does. The real and lasting help to everyone, no matter what the problem. The third thing about this fact of them coming is that they needed help. They knew where they could find it. And they realized that it was not, no matter what their problem was, it wasn't too difficult, it wasn't too hard for Him. No sickness, no problem, no infirmity was too big, too hard for Him. These last few verses of this chapter, I think, have one message. I mentioned it Wednesday. I believe these verses should tell us, seek Him while He may be found. Seek after Him. Go after Him. Seek Him with all of your heart. Jeremiah, God said to him, ye shall seek me and find me when you shall search for me with all your heart. I suggested Wednesday, that's what they were doing, pushing through the crowd, elbowing people, getting people mad. But they had to get to Him. They were seeking Him with all their heart. That's what we need to do with our issues and our problems. Jesus said, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me. He stands at the door of our heart. And I know this speaks about the church primarily, but it applies. And He's knocking at our door and says, will you let me in? Will you let me help you? And by faith we need to say, yes, Lord, take me, take my life. Help me with my issues. Help me with my problems. Help me to serve you better, love you better, and know you better. Hearing the knock wasn't good enough. They had to open the door. Hey, He was on the other side of the door. He was on the other side of the door. Do you know how close that was? But it was close, but they were not close enough. The door had to be opened. Oh, I said Wednesday, there were some who got almost to Him. But there was a crowd, there was a person, there was somebody bigger or more stubborn than them, and they saw Jesus walk by, reached out and almost touched Him, but missed Him. close isn't close enough. We need to open the door. I'm talking about seeking Him, go after Him, get hungry for Him. Hear the voice in your heart that says, oh, not like the Song of Solomon, let's draw together. Let's go out and spend time together. They sought His touch, they sought His garment, but oh, they need to seek Him. David said, today, if you hear His voice, harden not your heart. Oh, who is He? A lot of explanation, a lot of things I could say, some I have. But here's what I'll say for this evening. He's someone who wants you to know Him better. He's someone that wants your relationship and your fellowship to be more close. A love relationship. There's a whole lot of things the Bible describes as far as the relationship between the believer and God. He's the master and we're the servant. He's a landowner, we're the steward. He's a shepherd, we're the sheep. He's the father, we're the sons. But there's one thing I want to say to us tonight. He says, I am your husband, and you are my bride. I want to know you more than just occasional, partial. I want you to know me more than occasional, more than partial. Not just somebody to go to when problems are coming, but someone to walk with, to talk to fellowship with. It'll change our lives when our fellowship with the Lord becomes that personal. But that's what He desires. Seek ye Him with all your heart. Let's stand together. No music, no singing between you and the Lord. There's something you need to come pray about. I beg you to do that. I realize